how does your religion and spirituality answer your why? So maybe thinking about the Christian story, is it possible to even offer a valid answer if you don't believe in something bigger than yourself?
Well, I'll let Anand, I mean, I don't know if you want to answer that second. I don't know what your bigger story or how you would put that together. So I can only speak as someone who believes in God, right? So let me start from there. But if you believe in God and you believe that your life has purpose because God's somehow, however that happened, put you on this earth, and there's work for you to do while you're here, then if failure happens along the way, but you're trying to be faithful to your sort of your life's call or your life's mission, then failure's not your responsibility. You see what I'm saying? Like so here, I'll make it personal. I felt called to medicine. I did not want to be a doctor, still don't want to be a doctor. My step 1 scores, you have to take so many tests to get a good residency slot. I did not want to study for step 1. It was boring. I mean, who cares how many kilodaltons proteins weigh? Does anybody in this room? If you care, talk to me afterwards. I did not care. Okay, all right, Ted, fine. And I didn't want to have to memorize what to me seemed like useless knowledge. And let me tell you, it was useless because I'm a primary care doctor. I've never once thought about how many kilodaltons proteins weigh. But I had to be faithful in studying for my step 1, but I also committed to being faithful to the relationships in my life. And I also committed to reading good literature during medical school, especially during exam periods, because I felt like that would help me stay human, and it did. And so I kind of discerned, and my step 1 scores were not great, but in the end, clearly I would say, speaking as a Christian, it was, God's plan, God's will for me to end up at Yale, and I was a professor there for a long time, and then was recruited to Columbia, and it's been fine, right? But there were lots of little, failures along the way, and there were plenty of times that it didn't look like things would turn out, and that can go on for decades and decades and decades. The artist in obscurity. I think I read a lot of poetry. Poets, faithful to the words that come to them, right? And you sort of keep writing poetry. Any poets in the room? Okay, good. One. You know what I'm talking about. Like I don't write poetry, and I've been told I shouldn't. But poets tell me they have to write. There's this deep compelling, one of the ways you described it, like this deep compelling, they have to do this. They have to put the words out. And so you're faithful to that, even if, your poetry and you die in obscurity, you're sort of faithful to the call on your life. So failure, it's fine as long as you're, sort of being faithful to the call on your life.
So thank you for that. I think that there are many ways. I think it may be the case that it is difficult to navigate these questions without access to some whole that is bigger, but there are many ways to understand what that whole is, right? There are many ways of entering into something that's larger than yourself. To be honest, for me, I feel like there's a great deal of strange and unsettling truth in our compost bin at home. It's like the strangest thing, but we compost, like we throw all our kitchen scraps in there, yard waste, whatever. It is the substance of all the failure, right? Is everything that's left over and unwanted and inedible and whatever, right? And yet that is where life comes from, right? Like everything that we depend on as organic beings arises from the remnants of those lives that have failed and come apart before us. You don't need to go anywhere else maybe than that to appreciate that there are these cycles of life that are much bigger than us that can give meaning to what we do. I'm working on this new book project on decay, and I started looking closely at leaves this fall, like as they started turning and as they started sort of decaying, and I'd like my kids thought I was crazy. I borrowed a microscope from a lab on campus. I'd like take it out every evening and look at the same leaves to see whether I could see the advancing of the sort of color change in the microscope, sort of day by day, and I don't know, the closer you look at a leaf or really anything else, the more of it you see, right? There are vast worlds that open up when we pay close and abiding attention, sometimes to the smallest of things, and so I think that kind of perspective on a larger, say, tapestry of life or a larger pageant of life, and the kind of meaning and purpose and sense of rootedness that it can give us, it can come from the most modest and humble places. It just depends on how we look and whether we're willing to invest the kind of attention that those phenomena might deserve.